Are you tracking your time on every single job?
I have not done that for every job, but I need to do that on every one of them.
Everyone, whether it's overgrown, brand new, been doing it for the 50th time, doesn't matter. Turn the key off, we start the timer. Start the truck, then we stop. So that'll help give you the data to be able to charge accurately. If there's a way that you could make it work where you're at local, that's probably the best. Even if that means you have to expand your service scope a little bit. Maybe you do sod. Maybe you start to get in a little bit of tree trimming and like other things than just mowing to make ends meet. Look, we got 3 spots available right now. We just put an ad up. We're hiring, so you can come work for us.
Yeah.
We can help this move. We can help you come down here, get you settled in. You know what I mean? All right. So today we have Raleigh down in Kentucky. Raleigh, thank you so much for jumping on with me. If you could maybe kind of like give me like a 30-second snippet on kind of like a snapshot view of where you're at in business, and then we can jump in and see how I can help.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Raleigh Spencer. I'm from Campton, Kentucky, small town, so rural area. 3rd year of business. Basically 2nd year official, like as LLC. So just new, kind of starting up, pastor. So I actually pastor, and then I have to have a full-time job too. So lawn care ended up being that job, and this year I'm growing more than I have any other year. Trying to make it the best year I've had so far. It's been kind of part-time, but I'm getting closer to like wanting to like 32 hours a week to go along with my pastoring. So starting to gain the clients. So it's starting to grow pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is like the long-term goal? Are you trying to make this like a full-time kind of career thing where you're doing this 5 days a week, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to do this like 4 days a week, generally, and I do want it to be my career. I think eventually I might like want to have a helper, like hire somebody, because where I'm rural, it's so hard with like the weed eating and stuff. It's a killer over here. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable long term by myself in this area.
Cool. So like what is it to just kind of like have a business where you're maybe still like in the field, or do you want to get out of the field? Like what is the end goal for it?
My end goal is to stay in the field as long as possible, because I love the business. I mean, I just love doing the work, and I love operating like the paperwork side of it and stuff, because I just use a simple like Jobber as my software. So it's made everything very streamlined for the level I'm at. But I want to stay in the business until I'm at the age where maybe I can hire some people to kind of take over, and then I just manage on the back end of it.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, look, we got 3 spots available right now. We just put an ad up. We're hiring, so you can come work for us.
Yeah. We might be a little far away.
Hey, we can help this move. We can help you come down here, get you settled in. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding, but halfway kind of serious too. So we're a bit understaffed over here. So no, that's funny, but cool. All right. So like what do you need from me? What do you think is like maybe the bottleneck of allowing you to get to that goal of doing this more full time? And like, yeah, what are the biggest things that you think you maybe need help with?
I think like the deal is with pricing over here, for one thing, is like our market's a very low market. Like I know different people that have done lawn care over here and stuff, and like the man hour rate over here is like 50 an hour. So that's basically what most people that I've got the gist from that actually do lawn care over here are actually charging per man hour. I know if they have employees, they're upping that. But if it was a solo operator, it'd be about $50 an hour. Pricing's one thing. There's a lot of cheap, like people want cheap around here. So there's not really, and there's not a lot of landscaping opportunities here. That's not much of a thing. So the maintenance side is more of what I'm having to focus in on, which the cost of living here is a lot lower too. So that helps. And I don't have a lot of costs and expenses. So that helps me a lot. But advertising is kind of one thing. I want to gain more clients, and I steadily am, but I've not been heavy hitting like advertising a lot. I don't need a whole lot more customers, probably like 6 to 10, depending on the size of the properties and stuff. So I'm not needing to add in a lot more to get to where I want to be, but being confident in my pricing is kind of hard sometimes.
Okay, so a couple things in there. So do you have like a CRM?
Yeah, I use Jogger.
Okay, so are you tracking your time on every single job? Like, are you starting and ending the time tracker on there?
I have not done that for every job. Right here at the beginning, I was trying to get them a little bit into the maintenance zone because it was taking a lot longer on the first cuts. But yeah, there's been a property or so, like one property that I did recently, but I need to do that on every one of them,
Yeah,
which was the plan.
everyone, whether it's
Mhm.
overgrown, brand new, been doing it for the 50th time, doesn't matter. Every time it should be protocol. Every time you turn the key off, we start the timer. And then once you load the stander back up, put all the equipment back up, start the truck, then we stop. So that'll help give you the data to be able to charge accurately. I would say that that's imperative to be able to price properly, because then you can pull a report of, okay, well, how much, does a half acre take you generally? How much does an acre take you? And then you can get that data points, and like, hey, 1 acre, these aren't real numbers, but 1 acre may equal 1 hour, right, of labor. And so then you'll be able to know exactly how much to charge off of that. Yeah, that's really, really important as far as pricing goes. The other thing, do you plan on hiring like an employee or a helper out there with you eventually, or are you just going to do it all yourself, you think?
I'd like to have a helper. I don't know. Like, I've talked to a couple of. I have a tax guy, and he's not a CPA, but he was giving me advice. And then I actually asked a real CPA. I don't know about the whole W-2 stuff. I know W-2 is just so. There's a lot of money that you have to spend out on W-2, and I don't know if I can afford that unless I was like quite a bit bigger than I am right now. Both of the tax people said that I could do like 1099, but there's mixed opinions on whether you can do that or not. But they both said I could, which I don't know. I've heard that you can't, but have somebody helping you on a 1099. You can't demand of them, of course. You can more ask if they would be willing to come and help you. So it's a lot harder to actually manage them unless you have somebody that's really good, that's reliable, trustworthy, maybe a friend or something. But so W-2 wise, it would probably be a while. 1099, if that was a route I could take, I could probably do that sooner.
Are they going to use your equipment and
Yeah.
trucks? Okay,
Uh-huh.
so it's going to be, and then you're going to probably tell them like when to mow the lawns and stuff.
Well, I mean, generally they'd just be riding with me. I would just say, "You want to come help me," and then they would help. So,
Yeah. So that's going to be definitely W-2 for
right.
that. They're going to be
Okay.
using your trucks, your equipment. You're going to tell them when to show up. You're going to
Mhm.
kind of give them the routes and stuff, and be with you. So yeah, definitely want to do a W-2. And then as far as like pay goes for them, generally speaking, you want to try to get 4 times whatever you're going to pay for them. So
Mhm.
for example, you said that the going rate out there was $50 an hour for
Yeah.
lawn services, which I think is pretty low. But then again, it is Kentucky. And so, maybe cost of living out there is lower. I don't know. And like maybe income out there might be lower too. So if we divide that by 4, so that shows me $12.50.
Mhm.
Is that like if I got on Indeed right now and looked at your town and said landscaper job near me in that town, what's the going rate to pay somebody? Have you looked?
I don't really think there's much like ever on Indeed, like in this area. I know it's higher once you get to the city. That's about an
Mm.
hour from us. But the pay gap between that city and our town is like a major difference. Like you maybe make 17, 18 there, but here you would probably make like for the same kind of job, maybe 12 or 13.
Okay. So yeah, then if that's the case, 12, 13, you're right there on the spot of making 4 times what that would typically be. So I think that makes sense. If you're able to find helpers out there for that cost and they're willing to do that kind of work, I think that would be good. Now, as far as like marketing, so you said that you needed like 6 to 10 more customers. What are you currently right now, like what are the marketing strategies that you're doing to try to get
Okay.
customers?
I post on Facebook, and a lot of people share that. I was looking at that recently, and like I've had quite a bit of shares, which is good. It's just I don't know if I've got many customers ever from my Facebook post off of my business page. I do have a Google business profile, and I've got a few leads off that so far, and I got a new website that's really nice and stuff. So that's a good a stream of option, but that hasn't been up for but a couple months here, so pretty new. And then I have like a yard sign in my town and stuff at the intersection where everybody's coming through and stuff. I've got a lead off of that before. So that's the main things. I've not really done. I did a few door hangers before. It might be all right. I don't know, like how people around here really like you coming up and doing that on their property and stuff. I mean, it might be all right. I've tried it. I don't like doing that route really, but I know that a lot of people like to do that.
Yeah, because you're like walking on their property all the way up.
Yeah, and it's not terrible. It's just kind of awkward. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and usually I've never had anybody mad at me, but I'm sure there could be. But usually they're cool with it. But I don't know. It just makes me very uncomfortable doing that to them. I have thought about setting up like a booth in my town at like our local dollar store, which is kind of a hub spot in our town, and just setting up and like, you know, having some free water, a snack or something, and just like chatting with people, you know, and then announcing it on Facebook and stuff, having people kind of come to me. So if I'm telling them about my business, they have came to me. You know, I'm not kind of pushing my way onto them. I was a little out of the box, but I thought that could be something worth trying where we're in a small town.
Yeah, no, dude, that's great. That's great. Thinking outside the box is super important, and I think that's a great avenue. I think probably the yard signs out in those kind of areas, like at the more busier intersections, will probably do well. I'm sure they'll get taken down maybe over time, or the wind will blow them away. But you know, if you're just consistent with it during the rush of it of the springtime more so, or when the demand is higher, I think would be good. Do you have like signage on the vehicles? On the vehicle or trailer at all?
I actually have some stickers to put on my truck. I need to get them on there. I need to wash my truck, make sure it's all nice and clean before I do that. I was going to put it on there the other day. The trailer, I'm going to try to put one of my yard signs on the back of it somehow. It's kind of a little tough setup the way my trailer gate is set up. So I got to figure out a way to do that. So I did want to do that, but the problem with my truck is that it's not a nice truck. So I'm trying to get a new truck in the next year or two, like that's $10,000, $11,000 range, be a lot better shape. This one has the paint needs repainted. It has some body work that would need done. So part of my problem was, do I want to advertise with my truck because it doesn't look very good, or should I wait until I get a truck that looks nicer to advertise with then?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, how long would it take for you to get the money to buy a new truck? Like, when would that happen?
It'd
Would it
probably
be like,
happen maybe next year. It'd probably be like within the next year or two, but probably a year at least.
so, I mean, to put the stickers on it, I mean, I don't know how much did the stickers cost you?
They were really cheap because it's a woman from our church that actually made them. It's just like, it's very plain, but it's really big letters that I can put right on the side of my truck with my phone number.
Yeah, I mean, if she makes it really cheap, she could probably make you another set, right? So, like, I
Right.
mean, in the meantime, you'll at least have that moving billboard for a year, at least, maybe two, like you said. That might that even though the truck doesn't look the greatest, you're getting the phone number out there, the name out there, like the people are seeing you, you know, and that will bring you more customers, especially when you're out there mowing. And yeah, like 6 to 10 customers, I think with those things should be doable for sure. What you could also do, and this is again just kind of thinking outside the box, you can also maybe send an email to all of your existing clients or leads in the database too, and just say, hey, look, we have a referral program. So if you refer us to your neighbor, obviously do good work, and then, you know, ask for the referrals. If they can like refer their neighbors, maybe they get a free cut or something. You could kind of structure something like that, and then hopefully pick up a couple of clients that way. Yeah, and that might be able to get you to that 6 to 10 customers to hopefully fill that schedule for you.
Yeah, and that's a good idea because I thought about doing that. Like, I have some big properties, so some of them I could do basically free, and then some of them I'd have to give like a because I have a guy that does rental property, but it takes me like all day to do his property.
Yeah,
So yeah,
probably
I'd
don't
have
want
to
to give
just
him a free cut.
yeah, it'd probably have to be like a discount, just a discount or something. But yeah, our culture is a lot different here because, like, when I say, like, I want a professional truck, somebody was like, you don't want that because people will think you have money. And I was like, that's very interesting. Like, it's like it's like expecting, like, having an old beater truck is like something that people would rather see sometimes. I don't know. It's almost weird. Like, how some people view things in this area. It's like, yeah, but you don't want people don't want you to think that you have money, because then they're gonna think you're too expensive. I was like, maybe that's a good maybe that's a good thing for some people. I mean, you know.
I think it depends on like the client that you're going after too, like I mean most clients that are paying for lawn services like for us in our area, and again the markets matter, right? So your market might be different than ours, but most customers in our area, they just want a lawn service. We're down here in Texas, so it's really hot. They want a reliable, like 9 out of 10 customers that call us that say they're coming over from their like previous company, like the biggest pain point is like my guy stopped showing up, or they don't communicate well, and he hasn't been here for 3 weeks, and it's like, they're not reliable, they don't show up. So, I think it just depends on the type of client you're targeting. And at the end of the day, I think the client just wants us to be there week in and week out, like we say we're going to be. And so, however you could portray that, and some people take that to the extreme and they get like the super fancy F-350, and they like, you don't need all that, right? Like you just shoot the truck that you got right now, as long as it gets you to the service property, the property to get service, like you're good, And so, and then if it's a scenario where the truck breaks down, just as long as we're communicating, being like, hey, like it's in the shop, give me 3 days, it should be out next week, we'll get you taken care of, and as long as we're communicating that they should be okay. But yeah, I think it just kind of depends on the customer on that,
Right.
But
yeah, and that's something that's been really good, is the communication side. Is I'm very good with the communication usually. I mean, everybody lets it slip a little sometimes, but been really good. Got all 5-star reviews on Google, and got some really good reviews, or some long ones that people posted and stuff. So that was a big help. So being a solo operator kind of helps you to be able to keep all that stuff in line and stuff. So I mean, things are going pretty good. It's just I did think about the possibility a couple different times of like transplanting my business from here to the city. Some people have said you'd have to run the numbers a lot on that, because like my wife's family lives in a like basically the biggest subdivision in one of the biggest cities in Kentucky. So it's got like 4,000 to 8,000 houses and stuff in it. I mean, it's like some of them are rentals, some of them are owned. So there's a lot of cookie cutter properties. You get in, get out quick, but it's like an hour away from me. So that was kind of the caveat. You can make a lot more money per hour there, but you also got to spend a lot of time on the road. So I don't know. That's something that I've talked with a couple people about, and I never could find whether I thought that'd actually be a good idea or not.
So what I can tell you is, when we are hiring, we actually will not take, because typically 9 out of 10 times they're not willing to relocate it. But anybody that drives over about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, after like a month of them doing that drive, they don't last long. They leave. If it's over 45 minutes commute, and then when you add like traffic on that with rush hour, it's like even longer. It's like they just don't last. Like they not because they don't want to, and not because they're not hard workers. It's just like the commute, it literally sucks almost 2 hours of their day every day. And when you do that 5 days a week, that's 10 hours of your life that is like spent behind the wheel, And so I don't know. I think if you did that, I don't know. Yeah, that would be pretty far. So if there's a way that you could make it work where you're at local, that's probably the best. And even if that means you have to expand your service scope a little bit, right? Like, maybe you do sod, maybe you start to get in a little bit of tree trimming and like other things than just mowing, to make ends meet and to make a little bit more revenue and money, like and flower beds and mulch installations, like that stuff. And maybe getting licensed in pesticide applications. I'm sure there's maybe a lot of people with horses and things like that. You can get into the agriculture side of things, like treating, because they need good grass to eat and stuff. Just figuring out like what your market demand is and trying to make that work, I think might serve you better. That way you don't have to move and drive an hour every day, because that would not be fun.
Yeah, and I think that I do want to stay around here. It's just always tempting when you like kill it on a property that's like very hard, and then you're like, man, I wish I could do one of those small ones. But it's very rewarding work though. So I mean, it's kind of a give and take. But no, I mean, I think I can grow it good here. It's just I think I've heard that like when you get to capacity, basically try to raise prices, and then you'll trim off some of the fat, and then you can add in some more properties, but at a higher margin. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what my goal is here, is to keep raising until I kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, I found the sweet spot. Because I don't think where I'm at right now is where I want to stay in terms of
Yeah.
my hourly man hour rate. I want to, but I want to establish myself as the business in this community that is like the top notch business. Like if you're going to get a lawn care guy, you want to get him, and that's how I want it to be, because there's not a lot. Like I think I'm ahead in terms of the Google reviews. I'm already starting to do good there. I'm like a top 3 in my area already. I want to be established here, build that reputation, so that when I charge a premium price, people are like, "Well, he's worth it."
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And you can, you definitely can. I think, in the beginning, it's normal for people to charge a little bit lower price just to build the confidence, gain a few customers, a couple handful of customers to where you learn the ropes, you learn what to do and what not to do, and I think that's good. I think that's good. Yeah, you're definitely approaching it right. So we've got, some tips and stuff on like marketing. The other thing that I was thinking is locally, you probably have like local shops that you go to, and it might be that
Mhm.
Dollar General that you were saying, or maybe, maybe a place that you'd like to eat, a restaurant.
Mhm.
Like, there's a Mexican restaurant. I literally go there 3, 4 times a week.
Oh
They know
wow.
me. I walk in, they're like, da 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 da. I always get a chicken burrito, no cheese, no beans. Okay, they already know it. They already know it. I'm like, yep, serve it up, right? Like, so we're really desperate for workers right now, by the way. And so last time I was in there, I was like, "Hey, can I put this business?" Oh, I don't have my wallet with me. It's in the other room. Otherwise, I would show you. I have a card, and anytime I notice someone that's hardworking at a job, I take it out and I'm like, "Hey, man, like you look like a really hard worker. You would excel in our environment if you're not making 25 an hour. Like you can come over here and work 25, make 25 an hour." And so I asked them if I could put that business card up on the post, like right where people stand in line. And dude, at lunchtime in that Mexican restaurant, there's like 30 people in there, like hardworking blue collar dudes that like are eating lunch. And I'm like, this is the spot where we need to put our hiring card. So
Wow.
anyway, all that to say is like you probably have those relationships in your town. And
Mm.
if not, try to build it. Bring them donuts or something, right? Like do something, or buy them a pizza, and like maybe it's your mechanic or something like that. But hey, be like, hey, can I leave a stack of business cards here on the counter? So when people are checking out, they can, you can get a nice little holster for them that kind of holds it at an angle, and
Mm.
then put like 20 of them in there, and they just like need mowing services or whatever, right? Like, and I think that might serve you well for like marketing. That might be that might be a good avenue,
Mm.
just something else that I thought of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I need to try some different stuff. I've not been very aggressive with my marketing strategy. I could have had a lot more customers by this point, but I had a couple years there, like a couple times where I didn't know if I was going to stay in the business. Like once the end of the season came,
Hmm.
until this year, finally, I was like, "This is the business I want to be in. I love it." So now I'm actually looking to keep growing like year round instead of just starting in the spring and saying, "Well, I guess I'm back," you know.
Yeah.
So I do need to try that, connecting a little bit more with some of the local businesses, because I mean I definitely have those connections in some places.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Okay, so we talked about marketing. We talked about kind of where you're wanting to go. Like, is there anything else that I can maybe like help you out with, or that you have maybe like questions on, or
With like, so you said with like the W-2 employee, you said that would be like okay, let's say $12.50, whatever, or 13. Because I've always heard, what is it, like 30% over what they're actually making is what you're going to have to pay over time, I guess, because of like all the tax and stuff that you have to pay for them, Social Security and everything. It's like, how do you make that like worth it? Because like for me, it's like I just don't know at what point I could make hiring somebody worth the cost?
If you can make 4 times what you're paying them, you'll be good.
Okay. So I like, you mean like in general, or like on a job, or like just per hour? What do you?
Yeah, sorry, that was a very, I guess now that you asked that question, that was kind of a vague statement. So yeah, ideally 4 times what you're paying them. So let's just say, yeah, 1250, I think is what it came to. So 1250 times 4, that's $50.
Right.
So for every hour they work, as long as you're making $50 or close to it, you should be good. Realistically, you could probably make it work with 3x. So 1250 times 3. So even if you dip down to making 37 an hour or maybe 40 an hour, because I mean, let's talk about this, right? So like if you're charging $50 to the customer, and you might have some big properties where you're there for 6 hours that day. Let's just say like you're there by yourself. Actually, let's say 7 hours. Let's say the one property's you're there for 7 hours. But you also have drive time and load time and gas station because you got to fuel up. So that time is spent not making money. So you're actually going to be on the clock for 8 hours and you're only going to work for 7. Like you're going to be mowing the lawn 7 hours. The other hour is waste, loading, driving to the site, getting gas, whatever. So in that scenario, you would be making 50 times 7 because you're only working for 7 hours. That's $350 you're going to make that day. Ideally speaking, as long as the employee doesn't make you more than that for the day, you should be good. But that can dip down a little bit because, like I said, you could probably go 3.5 and still be fine. Your profit margins get cut though when you start to do that. So what does that mean? So if you're going to pay him $12.50 an hour, okay, and he's going to work for 8 hours,
Right.
what's that going to be? It's going to be $100. So you're going to actually go over what you ideally would want to pay him, but you probably will still be okay because let's see if it hits the divided by 3 rule. So as long as you're realistically paying him 3, you'll probably break even. So what does that mean? So 50 divided by 3. Oh, I'm sorry. So 50 times 7 hours divided by 3 is 116. So that means you'll have probably $16 of profit in there. This is a very vague, rough numbers, right? Like this is just a rule of thumb. This isn't 100% accurate. Obviously, you want to know your numbers. If you're running out of your house or very lean, you might be able to afford to go like you might make a lot more profit because you don't have a lot of overhead for the business, right?
Yeah, that is something that I would say is that I'm actually like my profit margin's like way higher than like most people in lawn care because like I don't have a I don't have like a storage building I rent. I don't have very like my insurance costs are very minimal. So basically like my overhead is very like low, very low, probably lower than most people's. I just have a particular situation that lended itself to that, which I'm thankful for. So my profit margin, as I was calculating it using this guy's method that's also in the lawn care business, he was showing me how to calculate that up, and it's actually way higher than what the typical, I can't remember, 10 to 20% or whatever. It's quite a bit higher than that. So I actually can afford to lose it down a little bit compared to a lot of people that have a very trim and slim, profit margin.
Yeah. So like honestly, you'd probably be okay doing 3 times. So 1250 times 8 hours a day. That's $100. Okay, if you were to pay somebody 1250 an hour for 8 hours, that's $100. So realistically speaking, as long as you schedule that one person more than $300 for the day, you should be fine. And as long as he doesn't clock anything longer than 8 hours. So as long as he's making the business $300 and doesn't clock longer than 8 hours, you should be making money.
Okay.
Ideally.
Okay. So like
Especially with a very, very lean business. Like you don't have a ton of overhead. It's very lean. Very lean.
So like basically like if you're gonna make $300 in a day, then like that would be with you two together. As long as you can make the 300, you'd be close to hitting that mark.
No.
Is that
If
or
you
what?
no. If you have 2 people, if you're going out there with them, that needs to double.
Right. So it needs to be 600.
600, yeah.
Right. Okay. I was just trying to make sure I was getting what you were saying because I know that like let's say the property that I'm on usually takes like 7 hours by myself. ideally it'll take 3.5 to 4. I know that generally it'll be a little bit slower having somebody helping you than doing it yourself. But so 3.5, technically you should be able to do another property just like that.
Exactly.
In the same day.
In the same day. Yep.
Right. And then they're only making like, the 100, but you've made $600, so technically you should be making quite a bit more. So I guess your man hour rate would technically go up to about $100, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the way that you want to think this through, because believe it or not, you are also an employee for the business, and you need to be able to be paying yourself somewhat of a paycheck too. So if the going rate out there is $100 a day, and that's what what most people would work for and things of that nature. Hiring a helper, he needs to get $100 a day, and you need to get $100 a day. Now, although you are the business owner, and at the end of the day, you're going to take home more profit additional to that, but ideally that day you should be making $100, just like he's making $100, and then you guys both need to produce more, at least 600 or more. Ideally, maybe 650, 700, 800 in an 8-hour day, and then you guys should be good. Absolutely.
And that's the thing here is that I think I could actually, it's weird, but I think I could actually be faster with an employee than I am like by myself because of how the properties are and the amount of like trimming there is and stuff. Like I think it would actually increase my productivity rather than decrease it.
So in a weird way, and I agree with you on that, it sounds like it should, but in a weird way, it inversely negatively affects it. And here's why. Although, yes, you have another team member out there that can help weed eat, but he's also there dragging the clock time on the clock and on that property. So the most effective and efficient process is when there's only one person on that crew, because here's why. The minute you're done mowing and you drive the mower up and you park it on the vehicle, the second you stop and turn the key off on the mower, you go and you grab the weed eater. There is no waste, there's no lag, there's no inefficient. It's 100% efficient. You grab the weed eater, you go, you walk the tree rings, you do that. The minute you're done, you put that up and you grab the backpack blower. It's 100% efficient. When you add a second guy to the crew, what happens is there is inevitably always waste on every property. And it's incremental, it's small. But what happens is at the end of it, one person is going to still be blowing while the other is not, or waiting around. And one might say, well, Will, why don't you just get another blower? We'll run 2 blowers. Okay, great. Still, there is waste, because if he grabs the blower and starts walking over there to start blow, you also have to grab the blower and walk that same path that way that he already blew. And so it is inefficient. And so there's inevitably waste. Now, it's minor, and it's maybe like 10-15% fall off on that, but the most 100% efficient way is one guy. The problem with that, though, which somebody could maybe counter argue that, is like maybe by like hour 6, 7, or 8 towards the end of the day, you get kind of slow and tired. But ultimately speaking, I'll kind of give you this. One guy in our market can do 10 lawns because they're small and tiny. That's like max all day. Like 8 hours, he's going to do 10 lawns. If there's 2 guys, we expect them to do 20, but realistically, they can only do about 18. And they're still by hour 7 and 8, like drained. And so there's just there's a little bit of waste that kind of falls off when you add another person. But yeah, I think it's good. Like, I think you should get an employee, should get a helper. I think you should pay them $100 a day and try to get 300 or more back for the business. And ideally, the more that you could get, the better. In fact, and I would even lean more into like, if you watch a lot of Mike Andy's stuff, like the P for P model, like performance pay, and be like, hey, look, I'll give you $100 a day. If you get all the work done in 6 hours, I will still pay you $100 a day. And so you can work really hard and get home, get off at 2 hours early, because that incentivizes me to be like, hey, like, I don't want to just clock the hours. Like, I want to get off and go home early too. That might be a good incentive for you to be like, hey, I'm going to pay you $100. So that way you're not just making $12.50 an hour. He might be able to make 14 or 15 an hour and only work 6 hours, you know?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think a lot on that, and especially like if I do decide to get an employee. I don't know if it'd be this year, but if I did get an employee, I definitely want to grow the business, and that's a kind of a tough thing. Is like, how can you hire somebody when you're maxed out by yourself? But obviously, once you hire them, you need to bring on quite a bit more work.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Typically,
kind of
like typically like early spring rush is like a good time to do that. Yeah. Unfortunately, the reality is on the P&L, and this is pure business owner speaking here. Unfortunately, the labor is an expendable line item on the P&L, which basically what I mean by that is like if there's no work, you don't need the employees, obviously. You know what I mean? And that sounds horrible, but obviously I care about all my team and all of that. But like when the season's really busy, like we need more laborers and more people to do the work. But then when the season slows down, it's like unfortunately we have to cut back hours. Unfortunately, we have to maybe lay somebody off because we don't have the work, And so that is normal when you hire another person, you don't have all the work. You just being open and honest with them and saying, hey, look, like I'm doing everything I can to try to get the hours, but it's gonna be a little slow maybe for the first couple of weeks until we can get more flyers out or stuff like that.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate all the advice and help. I've got a lot. The lawn care industry has a lot of helpful people. So
It does. It does. Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, we got into some good stuff. So I think anybody that's really just getting started, this will significantly help them. So I really appreciate you coming on here.